All right, in philosophy. Hopefully, you have finished all of your reasoning catch up work, and everyone is in a position to evaluate an argument. And hopefully, everyone's done the Intro to Philosophy of Religion lesson. And so, we are well and truly ready to look at some arguments for and against the existence of God. We're going to start by trying to disprove his existence. We'll look at a few of those arguments, and then in later lessons we'll look at arguments for. So today's argument is the argument from pluralism. Plural just means more than one. I'm sure you all knew that. Nobody denies that there's more than one religion out there. There is a plurality of religions, a plurality of understandings of God, what he's like. The problem is that each different religious tradition is going to claim that they have the exclusive truth, or that they have perhaps more truth than the other religions. So that conflict leads to an argument against God. So there are significant commonalities between certain religions. Certainly Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all come from the Middle East. They all have a guy called Abraham as their forefather. They share some parts of the same scriptures. So there's overlaps, commonalities. That's not a problem. Problem is these religions make mutually exclusive claims. So Jews believe they alone are God's chosen people. Muslims and Christians deny this. They cannot agree on that. Christians believe that Jesus is God in human form. Jews and Muslims deny this. Muslims believe God chose the Prophet Muhammad to reveal his final message to mankind in the Quran. Christians and Jews deny this. It can't be the case that all three of these claims are correct. So, what might follow from these kind of exclusivity, mutually exclusive beliefs? First option would be to say that maybe all religions are equally true in some sense. This is the religious pluralism option. In the same way that climbers take different routes to the summit of a mountain, perhaps each religion offers believers a different route to the same truth. There's a popular metaphor of blind men touching an elephant, and they all experience part of the truth, but no one gets the whole truth. Maybe religions like that. There's a lot of problems with this metaphor, but you get the idea. Maybe they're all true in some sense. The response to this option is pretty much to reject it. Nearly everyone rejects this option, the idea that all religions are true. Claiming that all religions are equally true contravenes Aristotle's law of non-contradiction. And this is an important logical law, I should say, and everyone in this class should accept it. It says you cannot consistently assert a proposition and then at the same time deny the very same proposition. Another way, if you let P, the letter P, represent the proposition that Jesus is the Son of God. I mean, like in mathematics, P is like an X, could be anything. So let P represent this proposition, Jesus is the Son of God. According to the law of non-contradiction, you just cannot logically consistently assert that both P and not P, meaning you can't say Jesus is the Son of God and Jesus is not the Son of God. You can't put those two together. Either Jesus is God or he is not God. Both of those can't be true. So both P and not P cannot both be true. So the idea that all religions are true, given that Jews are going to say Jesus is not the Son of God, Christians are going to say he is the Son of God. You can't say that both religions are true. Logically, it goes against the law of non-contradiction. You'd have to assert P and not P, and that would be a logical fail. Option number 2, you could say, when you see that these religions make mutually exclusive claims, you could say that, well, that's because one of them is correct and the rest are false. The response to this is that, well, the atheists claim that the probability that just one religion is true and the rest are false is low. Why? Religious belief, the atheist claims, is most likely a cultural tradition, something that has been developed by humans in different parts of the world and at different points in history over the centuries to provide answers to the mysteries of life. The chances of only one group of religious believers holding beliefs that correspond to the truth is unlikely, for 2 reasons. First, of course, it is possible that God could have chosen to reveal himself only to a certain nation or a group of nations at a certain time. That's possible that God could do it that way, but it's extremely improbable, as that would be unfair. Unfair of God to condemn non-believers to hell for eternity, to whom he didn't actually reveal himself. And being unfair, it doesn't really sound like a good God. God is supposed to be good, and so if he's only revealing himself to one group, the atheist claims this is unfair and therefore not good. Secondly, if all humans are kind of have the same potential to form the correct understanding about God, then it's highly improbable that only individuals living within a certain nation or group of nations at a certain point in time somehow possess the capacity for this. Again, the atheist would say it's just improbable that it just so happens that the ancient Jewish race figured it out. Everyone else was wrong. They would say that's highly improbable. Everyone has equal potential. Third option to all of these exclusive religion claims is say they're all wrong. All religions are false. Why believe that? Well, if you're born in Israel, what religious tradition are you most likely to follow? You're probably going to be a Jew. If you're born in America, which religious tradition would you most likely follow? You're probably going to be a Christian. If you're born in Pakistan, you're probably going to be a practicing Muslim following Islam. If you're born in India, you're probably going to be a Hindu. If you're born in Tibet, you're probably going to be a Buddhist. If you're born in the Punjab region of northwestern India, you're probably going to be a Sikh. If you're born in Australia, you're probably not caring about this and you just want to drink beer and talk about sport. What's the point here? According to the atheist, religious belief is most likely not the product of God revealing himself to a certain group, but rather it's the product of your upbringing, which has been influenced by generations of humans who appeal to religion to help make sense of life's mysteries. So, putting all that together, you get the formal argument. Here it is. All that was the setup. Here's the argument. Premise 1. The probability of all religious beliefs corresponding to the truth is nil, as they are mutually exclusive. I'll let you think about whether that's rationally acceptable. That's like that all religions are true. The probability of that is 0. That's the first premise. Second premise, the probability of one religious belief being true and the rest not is low, as this would not be fair and God's supposed to be good. So the probability of all of the religions true is nil. The probability of one religion true is low. The probability of all religious beliefs being false is high, as they're most likely human inventions. Conclusion. Sorry. It's likely that God does not exist. There you go. There's the argument. Now, when we evaluate arguments, we're going to look at the premises and the inferences. Remember that the inference on this argument, note the word, it is likely that God does not exist. So this argument is called an inductive argument. It doesn't aim for certainty. It's not trying to be deductively valid. It's just trying to shoot for probability. The conclusion that God does not exist does not follow necessarily from the premises, but the atheist says it does follow with a high degree of probability. So they think it's a cogent argument. What do you think? Have a look at the argument, pause the video. Do you think this is a cogent argument? The inference is inductive, so they think it's strong. It's not deductive, but they think it's good enough to be cogent. What about the premises? Do they seem acceptable to you? It's probably good to think about this by yourself, but here are some criticisms you could give. If you're a religious pluralist, you're not going to accept that first premise. That's not much of a criticism, to be honest, though, because I think religious pluralists who say that all religions are true, they've had to reject logic in order to come to that belief. So that's a pretty big bullet to bite. So premise one is probably, I think, rationally acceptable. The probability of one religion being true is low. Well, against that premise, no theist would accept it. Anyone who holds to a religion thinks that their religion is probably correct. That's why they follow that religion. So this premise two, is not going to win over anyone who follows a religion. This third premise is a little bit question begging, meaning it kind of assumes the conclusion, like it's trying to get to the conclusion that probably God doesn't exist, but then in the premise it says religious beliefs are most likely human inventions. I feel like that's what this argument needs to prove. It shouldn't really be a premise. Lastly, against this entire argument that, like, yeah, there's different religions making different claims, so probably they're all wrong, you could argue against that by saying, well, throughout history, there's just been so many beliefs about God that perhaps this is indicative of the existence of God. Maybe it's evidence for God. Maybe all these religions is evidence that, we're onto something here. Who knows? You should head to OneNote. If you got this lesson, you could just go straight to the questions. If you need a review, read the notes, highlight, underline, and then do the questions. Have a good lesson.